Scott Johnson, who's the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, is here. We got a couple other staff members. Joe, I'm not going to leave you out. Joe Rucker, one of the hardest working employees in our department here. John Horton is here. And William Royston, of course, whom many of you know, is our park superintendent. So at this time, again, I'm excited. And I think what you'll see tonight will get you excited. And we want to hear from you, some input, and I'll get out of the way and turn it over to William Royston.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to, this evening to present the action plan for Winston Park. This process began approximately 2 years ago. This is our third public input session or formal presentation. To kind of give you all the history of how we got to this point. So initially came out and did perform a site analysis and inventory of the entire park site. And in doing so, we documented the soils and vegetation, site distances, slopes, topography, hydrology. In doing so, what we're able to come up with is a site analysis. That site analysis diagram pretty much tells us where on the site we can develop certain types of activities. You don't want to build parking lots on areas of the site where you have large large slopes. You don't want to destroy certain plants and vegetation. So we've taken all of that information. We came out, presented that information to the public, got some, pretty much gave you a wish list, and pretty much gave you an opportunity to tell us what you wanted to see in the park. Took all of those design ideas, meshed them with the site analysis, and started doing some schematic diagrams. Came back, presented those to you, got further input. We refined those, and now I think we hit the nail on the head. We're going to go through middle landscape architecture. Scott Miller and Ash are going to go through and walk you through all of the new design ideas. I would like to ask you, if you do have questions, to try to hold them to the end. The presentation will take approximately somewhere around 30 minutes. We'll try to get everybody in and out of here so we can go home and get some dinner. Again, thank you for coming out. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you're going to be just as excited about this plan as we are. It's absolutely beautiful. I think they've done a tremendous job. This is going to be a very, very nice asset for Winston Salem as a whole. So at this point, I will turn it over to Ash. Scott Miller. And again, if you have any questions, please try to hold them to the end, and we'll give you more than enough time to come up, walk around, ask any questions, and we'll be here as long as we need to. Okay?
Thank you, William, and I am excited to be here too. Thank you once again for braving the weather tonight and coming out and being with us. A couple quick introductions. First, I'm Scott Miller. I'm a landscape architect and president of MLA, Miller Landscape Architecture, based here in Winston-Salem. And with me, and I have Ash Deshpande. She's also a landscape architect, also has an architectural background, and she is our creative director. So a lot of the work that you see today is going to be based on her efforts as well as many others. So stay here to answer questions. We appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'm going to act somewhat as your tour guide tonight, okay? So we have some wonderful things we're going to try to go over and explain to you, kind of walk you through. It's our vision, but it's our vision based on a lot of people's input and a lot of people's efforts to get us to this point. Like we said, it's been a 2-year process, and we're really excited about moving forward. You see a lot of stuff around the room. Didn't mean to overwhelm you, but we wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to see everything that kind of we went through from the beginning. Back in that corner, like William said, is all of our analysis. We have photographs of the current park up here on these boards. And then we have what's called image boards. We have, and you saw some of these probably some of the previous presentations if you were able to make it. And those are some ideas. They're ideas that we've taken from other places to kind of explain ideas and thoughts. It might be a tower, it might be a fishing pier, it might be whatever. So we use those to kind of explain what we're trying to get you to visualize in the master plan. What we'd like to do tonight is somebody can help us with the lights. We're going to take you from this initial plan, which was where we left off at our last public input session. It's called a preliminary concept plan. Thank you, Ray. and that's up here on the screen. Just to kind of get you oriented a little bit, Waterworks Road is right here. Okay, Old Greensboro Road down here. Winston Lake Park Road comes in through here, winds around here, and back up here. The park is a little over 400 acres right now, as many of you already know. At the upper end, or the northern end, takes up a couple hundred acres, 200 or 300 acres on the northern end, and that's the golf course. And for this project, we were not really changing anything on the golf course. That was pretty much a sacred cow. We were trying to maintain that just as it is, and really focusing in on the area south of there, which is this area right here, bounded by Winston Park Drive. You see the high school and the elementary school. We're in this building right here, and then you've got a new assisted living facility that sits about right in here, the ball field over here, Twin City ball field. So what we're going to do today, like I said, is just kind of take a step back and show you where we were. This is our last preliminary concept plan, and at that time we had divided it up into really three main areas. We have this area here, which we're calling our Festival Park area, or Waterworks / Park area. We have an area up here called the Arboretum area and Lakefront area. And then we have an area here that we basically call our Adventure Park, which is an area that's made up of a little bit more rugged terrain. And so we have to consider that in the kinds of uses that we're using in those areas. And of course, the central feature and focus, obviously, is Winston Lake. One of the things that we noticed and we received, based on the input that we received, was the lake, because of the limited access to the lake, we're really only able to access the lake around this portion, about half the lake. We really felt like the park was not utilized to its fullest potential. The ability to get around the lake, access the lake, circumvent circulate around the lake, we felt like was very important. And so we tried to incorporate that as well in some of the design. The other thing that we wanted to do was try to separate pedestrian and vehicular circulation wherever we could, from a safety standpoint, and also to recognize that there are things around us that we would like to try to incorporate. We feel like Winston Lake Park is one jewel on a string of jewels in Winston-Salem. There's many things in Winston-Salem that are wonderful, that are great. If we can make connections to Winston Lake, all the better, that we encourage that movement. And we have the Newell Massey Trail here, Bowen Branch up here, so the greenway connections are already coming here. We want to try to incorporate that into the park as well. So with that, Ash, if you switch us to the next one. The next, what we're going to do here, this is basically where we are right now. We have really divided, this is basically the limits that we looked at and considered in our investigation. And what we've done is we basically created three areas. We've created an area here, like I said, which is the Waterworks area. We've created an area here, which is the lakefront, and also the Special Event Center. And then we've got, in this larger area down here, is our Acre Adventure. And what I would like to do is just kind of walk you through each one of those plans. And afterwards, those plans will be revealed over here, so if you want to come up afterwards and kind of get a better idea, a closer look, you can. So what we're going to do is we're going to start over here. Like I said, I'll be your tour guide, and we're going to start over here at the Waterworks. And one thing I'll mention is we did some research on the history of the park. Basically, the dam was built in like 1901. And it was built for the purposes of supplying water to the City of Winston Salem. And so we really played off that theme. Waterworks Road, that's where we are right here. The Newell Massey Trail comes down here. The ball field's down here in this particular scheme. This is just a blow-up of the front end front area. This would be the main entry into the park right here. Okay? Thank you, Ash. Main entry into the park. What we're proposing at this location is a couple things. The first thing that we heard and we had a lot of interest in was a water park and an outdoor pool. So this area right here, there's an existing baseball field at that location, fairly flat area. We've chosen that area as our waterworks splash park. It consists of basically a competition-sized pool. So if you wanted to have competition swimming, you have it here. Also a splash park element to the pool, and also a lazy river and waterworks tower kind of component. That could be a slide tower or that kind of thing. In this particular sketch, we're showing a concession area with cafe-type seating. We're showing a main central building. This is for controlled access. It could possibly house historical information on the park and the whole waterworks concept that was created out there, and also bathhouses associated with that. Just outside the gate to this complex is an outdoor kind of passive little splash park area, and also a skate park, something we call the Pipe Green Skate Park. And this is all kind of creating, you've got existing trees lining the main road as you come in right now, and we wanted to really create a park-like atmosphere in the front. We'd have an entry sign here, new entry signage, and also something we would like for you to do is take a look at the signage that we have on this board as a separate project. The city's also commissioned us to take a look at signage at parks throughout the city. And so what we did, we won't go into this a lot, but some of these are examples of that signage that could possibly take place, either as main entry signages or as directional signages throughout the park. We have made a connection from the Newell-Massey Greenway up into this area, and this would continue through this area. There would be a drop-off for either for kids or whatever. There's kind of an eyebrow here that you could drive in, go around the eyebrow, drop off, or handicap parking could be at this location for quick and easy access to the park. We've also created an area over here. This is a large green that's currently there now. We propose to bring in and do some berming to create nice spaces within that. But that area could also be used for overflow parking in the event of a large festival or a large gathering, a large event going on at that time. The majority of the parking is situated here, where the existing parking lot, it makes up about this much area. We're proposing to expand that parking lot, almost doubling its size. And the reason it's located here, for two reasons. Number one, there really wasn't enough parking or enough area, land mass area between the existing road that comes in and our property boundaries to get the pool complex in and parking around that. So what we've done is we've made a connection. This is a vehicular connection. It's actually a bridge that goes over Fraser Creek right here. So this would be a vehicular and a pedestrian connection. They're separated but near the same location. That would then take you into what we're calling the Festival Park area. We also have a pedestrian connection here, which would be crosswalked and have a small pedestrian bridge here that could take you into this parking area. So that people could use this parking for either the water park or for this large festival area that we're talking about. Right now, A.J. Simeon Field sits in this particular location.
Scott, that's the wrong field.
Sorry, Ray Agnew. Sorry, A.J. Simeon Field. I'm sorry. You're right. Ray Agnew Field. My bad. Thank you for correcting. We are proposing to take that field out and basically regrade this area, create a more usable space, flexible space for festivals. It could be used still for field games, and we showed how that could fit in there. But for the most part, our thought is that this would create a large area that could be used like I said, for a stage kind of atmosphere. This would be a covered stage, actually dual-faced. So if you had bands or a concert or something like that, There's a couple steps up to a stage right here. People could sit on the lawn. It could be movie night in the park. It could be a lot of different things like that that could go on out there. It could be the kickoff area for walkathons or something like that. If you had a big event like that, this could be a starting point, especially if you could get onto the greenway and go from there. But it would also be double-faced. So if you remember, there's this huge hillside that goes up beyond the field. And we're proposing to use that hillside as a place to create basically an amphitheater with this seating in there, these little walls that go up there, and steps that go up into that area. So from this side, you could actually use it as something to watch a show, watch an outdoor theater event or something to that effect. And then there would be a connection and overlook up at the top that would come from back in this area that would actually overlook all of this area. The other things I'd like to point out in this particular screen is that we do have a large picnic area. There's currently a picnic area here. We're proposing to remove that and create this large, what we call an iconic picnic shelter, really nice, huge, large one with grills and a playground. Also, you'll see dotted throughout these areas are small shelters. And when you look at some of the images on the board over here after the presentation, you can see some of the ideas of some of the shelters that we're talking about. They're basically family size, so a small family that just wanted to have an outdoor picnic could have one in a little covered thing down by the creek. Also, I mentioned the bridge that came over. This would turn into the start of our parkway that goes around to the rest of the lake. And in this area, we're really seeing this as a place where you could close off this street during a special festival event and have street vendors. You could have tents and different vendors. It could be for a special Mayfest or something like that, and really have a street theme kind of event right here. So that's really. I'm going to also show that we were proposing a connection up here to the YMCA so that the YMCA could utilize this facility as well, have easy access to that as well. Next, we're going to move on out. We're going to go to the next one, which we're calling the Winston Lake Area Plan, and it is compiled of a number of different things. First of all, you'll see the Winston Lake Road that comes from the area we were just talking about here. It comes up here. We are proposing to have basically a strollway, a walkway off the main road that would come up this direction and tie in right here. Here's the dam right now currently. And you would be able to get from this location, actually using rock jetties, which are basically big boulders, create a boardwalk out over the water and back to this area right here. And the reason we did that is anybody that's walked in this area knows that this is very narrow in here. It's a very narrow strip of land between the lake and the adjoining neighborhood. And really, with the drive there, there's no place to really get off the road and walk very comfortably. So we thought this would be a good idea to be able to take people actually out onto the water using this boardwalk and rock jetties and get them out into the water and separate them from the road adjacent to it. Then, we've got all of this new waterfront area. One of the things that we kept hearing over and over again was about restrooms, it was about access to the water, it was about the fact that they liked the old dock and being able to rent boats and those kinds of things in the past, but there really wasn't that opportunity anymore, and that a lot of times the restrooms were locked and that kind of thing during the winter. So we're really creating a whole new lakeside pier area, basically. This is a new pier. It would be a covered pier. It comes off this main spine right here. This is what we're, the other thing we heard and that we're finding in the other parts that we designed and stuff is that it's real important to have large areas where you can have gatherings and you can rent those buildings, those So it's building so that people can come and gather, have family reunions, those kinds of things. So really, we have that at this location right here. And then we have basically the strollway continues through here. There's existing oak trees all along here. It creates an alley. We have access to the water here. And then we have an iconic element and a connection that will go up to this exhibition space up above. We also have down here a new dock for boats. We have a boat launch. We have a boat rental facility and restrooms. Right here, a new dock for boats. We have a boat launch. We have a boat rental facility and restrooms right here. Moving on down right here, you'll note, you may remember there's a tall kind of point or high point in the land right there. And our investigation in that area indicated that there was an old shelter up there at some time, an old stone shelter. And we actually found the remnants of smaller stone fireplaces and stone foundations where they used to have picnic tables and things all along that hillside, which is a very prominent spot. You're able to overlook the entire lake. So we wanted to recreate that, and so we're showing a new shelter here at this location. It does have a tower feature associated with it, so you might be able to go up into a tower and view out. It would have an outdoor terrace up there, so you can sit and look over the entire lake and have wonderful views. And then we spotted individual and tried to recreate the individual picnic shelters for small families out around that area as it came down the hill. And we're showing a chance to sit out on the rocks and fish from different points at that location. Kind of like what you had over here with the eyebrow of the boardwalk. We're showing another eyebrow to a boardwalk to another area that we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But this is another opportunity for people to fish along this, or just be able to get out, get on the water, and enjoy things. So that's pretty much the waterfront area. We are still proposing to maintain the circulation around there and renovate the parking along there. And then backing up right here, coming back to Winston Park Road, the original road, and we left these two red lines on it because that was showing the right-of-way for the old road. As you remember, this road is closed off right now, and there's no access from one side to the other currently. What we're proposing to do is about in this area, pick back up and open that road back up and turn it back in to this area right here, which is our what we call our special events center. And so where the old road bed went here, we would remove that section of the road, and that would give us the opportunity at the driving range, which currently sits about right in here where people drive on the golf course right there, gives us an opportunity to have another set of golf tees here that could be elevated a little bit higher and set back further, because right now everybody's driving through the range. It's not long enough, basically. So this would allow us an opportunity to still maintain a service drive through here that would have bollards at either end to keep people from driving that way unless you had a key to the gate. But you'd still maintain a gravel drive or something in here, but would allow us an area that they could even do covered tee boxes or tee boxes that were elevated and set back to give them a longer distance on the golf course. And that way they could rotate from the lower to the upper from a maintenance standpoint, that kind of thing. This area we're very excited about, the Special Events Center. Once again, it's an area that could be used for rent. It could be used for special events like reunions. It could be used for a place to have weddings, for instance. We have a large outdoor central green. This was set up in kind of in an event style, showing an arbor, really beautiful arbor kind of piece right here that you might have wedding photos and that kind of thing, but would really frame the view, and we would open up a gap in these trees to allow this. This is a high knoll right here, one of the highest places on the site, and it's a beautifully wooded area right now. It's sitting up on this high point, but really you can't see anything else because of all the trees. So we would open up a view corridor down to the main lake area, and that would be the focus from this upper event center. On the side here, what we're showing, this the grade drops from here down to here, and what we're showing is basically a terraced garden, and you'll see that once again in some of the images and photographs that we have. It may be an opportunity to talk about rainwater harvesting, trying to show kids how to, or individuals, how to reclaim the water and reuse the water in some of our different terraced gardens and that kind of thing. It would also lead you to a small amphitheater down here, which we'll call our wooded amphitheater. And then there would be a place where we could do an arboretum kind of walkway where you could have either native plants or plants and trees identified throughout this whole area. And that path would connect back to here. So you could actually get on a path, walk all the way up into that facility to give you that opportunity. We are also showing medians, planted medians in this drive that comes up towards the event center. That will help slow traffic down and just give them a nice experience as they wind up and approach the drop-off area. There was also going to be a new parking area constructed that would be associated to the main entry of the event center here, and a gatehouse piece so that this could be closed off from the golf course parking lot, which is here, and this is shown renovated. We actually left the parking, but we removed part of the parking area to create areas for landscaping and berms and that kind of stuff to make it a little bit nicer. Created a drop-off here so that you could drop off and go here to the tee boxes, or you could drop off and go up to the clubhouse right here. So having this gatehouse component allows, if there was an event going on at the golf house or on the golf course, for instance, you could possibly open this up and use all of this parking for that, or vice versa. If you had an event here going on, you could open these gates and use all of this, and they could come and go from both directions should you choose. It gives you a place where you can make that decision. So that's kind of our special events area. It could also house events or businesses like the Cooperative Extension Service could have an outpost here, or a lot of just, your mind could just wander. There's a lot of different things that could happen in that location. And then the third area that we like to kind of walk you through is what we call the Acres of Adventure. This is basically the roughest land, roughest meaning grade and topography wise, very steep, very difficult to manage. And one of the things that you'll see right off the bat in this sketch is the parkway that we're creating. Remember we were talking about the field or the festival park down here and how that new drive would come in? Well, that new drive would connect here, and we're actually proposing to bring a vehicular drive up this direction, winding all the way around, coming all the way around, and connecting back over at this location. That will give us one entire loop completely around the lake from a vehicular standpoint. You'd be able to drive completely around that lake. We're also showing little eyebrows, what we're calling eyebrows. These are basically overlooks or pull-offs like you would see at the parkway. So you could actually pull off, and this is a very elevated area above the lake, so you have some wonderful views down on the lake. So if you were not inclined to be walking or hiking, you can still enjoy the lake through this parkway, and that parkway then becomes the spine from which we hang a number of different things in the Acres of Adventure. And I'd like to talk to you about those right now as well. The first thing that you'll see is we've created a number of additional shelters. This is called the Meadow Shelter. There's an existing parking lot and an existing shelter right here right now. We're proposing to remove that, renovate the parking area, add a restroom, and have an opening in the woods. These shelters, this one, the woodland shelter, and we have a tower unit up here, and we have another shelter down here. They're all located on the high points of the property. So they're at very prominent areas throughout this whole rough terrain piece. But here we've got a meadow, we clear out an opening in the woods, have a meadow kind of shelter, parking for that. Over here, along this ridge line, the ridge line winds around to a very high point right here. There would be what we call the woodland shelter with a woodland playground, parking associated with it. Also some picnic shelters, small family picnic shelters associated with this whole piece. And a loop at the end where you could come up here to the very high point where there'd be a tower unit, what we call a stone tower unit. You could go up into a stone tower and get these wonderful views across the lake. For those of you who've lived here for all your life, you may never have been on that spot or any of these spots because of the terrain and stuff. And so this would give us a wonderful opportunity to be able to get in and enjoy and view the rest of the entire lake. The other thing I'd like to mention, I mentioned before, there was a connection here on the previous plan on the waterfront area where it came across. We are showing, in addition to the loop road, we are showing an extension of the greenway up around the park and eventually up towards this area where it could go up and follow the creek up through the golf course eventually, or back out this way. But at least for right now, we've got this greenway, which could be used for pedestrians to circulate completely around the lake itself. So we have basically two loops. We have a vehicular loop and we have a pedestrian loop separated out. And this would have little eyebrows as well, have little pull-off areas for fishing and that kind of thing. There's a wetland area here. There's actually what we call a fore-pond or an area of lake that is before the major area of the lake that has some wetlands. So wonderful opportunity to do some boardwalks and stuff through the wetlands area. There's beaver dams and all kinds of wildlife in that area as well. I want to move on down just a little bit into this area. This, just to orient you again, this is Waterworks right here. There's a big wooded area right in here. There's a creek that runs through. And then there's a high point back here and a high point back here. And what we're showing in this area, in the Acres Adventure, is this is basically a ropes course. It has a large tower unit associated with it, a zip line that comes down, many things that you can do in terms of outdoor adventure kinds of activities here. Also has trails for mountain biking throughout this whole area. And then has another shelter over here, which we're calling the Acres Adventure Shelter, which would have restrooms, a playground associated with it, also another potential revenue source in renting out the shelters. There are two swinging bridges. There is a swinging bridge that goes over the creek at this location. There's also a swinging bridge that goes over the creek at this location and connects basically those trails with this other side. And we're showing an access off Waterworks right here that would have a small parking area and have a little information building here. Might have some restrooms, some information on the Acres Adventure area. And we're also showing a 9-hole disc golf course through the woods that would come back. Basically called a returning 9 because you go out 9 holes and then you return back to where you started. So this is something that we feel like could possibly be built in one of the earlier phases, just because the minimal amount of investment that would be necessary to create that, but also be a starting point to get to all of these trails, biking trails and just walking trails, nature trails, and that kind of thing on that end. So that's basically the tour, unless Ash, you think I missed something that I needed to make sure I got. Yeah, what we'll do now, we will be glad to entertain questions. We're going to go ahead and turn these boards around as well, so that afterwards everybody can get up and walk through. But we certainly would like to entertain any questions, or if anybody has any concerns. Yes.
Can you address how you're going to address the connection between Lakeside and the park? Because that, to me, is something that needs to be
Right. Yeah, I will say that, and his question, I guess, relates to, I don't know if it's easier, you can see it here. I guess this being Lakeside here and how.
Excuse me, Scott, William, can you pull that board up in front of the table?
Or if you want to put it back on the screen, either way, whatever's easier.
Okay. Either way, if the screen is better,
Yeah,
show on the screen.
It's better. We'll just flip the lights. William, I think that might be better. I'll hold this here with me, but I'll point up here on the screen if everybody can see. I think the question is between this area here, correct?
That's correct.
And the park, there is some traffic that, you know, pedestrian traffic that comes across there. One thing I should have mentioned at the very start of things, this is a vision, this is a grand vision, and a lot of these kind of questions came up during our public input sessions and our thoughts as well. We haven't necessarily addressed each one of those in detail just yet. However, we know that that becomes an issue when you have kind of uncontrolled access throughout the park. So one of the things that we're gonna strive to as the different areas are developed out is to try to focus and control those access points. I know that doesn't specifically address your question in terms of how you're gonna do it right now. I guess the answer is we haven't addressed it just yet. We know it's an issue. We know we want to try to focus the access into the park to make it secure and safe the best we can without just completely fencing it in, you know? So that'll be a challenge when we get down to taking it to the next level, is we'll get into that level of detail. Other questions?
Scott, let me make a comment regarding what Jimmy asked as well too. One of the things with this particular master plan is, what our vision is the park wouldn't operate as it currently does. Currently, right now, it's just open. It's not staffed, it's just open. And our vision is that you would have a park similar to, you know, like a Tanglewood or like a Salem Lake, that you'd have staff there that would work there during the daytime. So the park would open, staff would be there, and the park would close. At various points with the property, you're gonna have to control access, because you just can't leave it open for anybody just to walk through. There are a lot of security pieces that will be in place where gates would lock at a certain time, even automatically. We looked at Wi-Fi throughout this area where you could take your smartphone or your computer and sit at one of the picnic shelters and get internet access. So this part kind of jumps into the future. And, you know, at this point, we don't know where all those connections are going to be. But we do envision that this park would be one that would have to be staffed, it would have to be opened in the mornings and closed in the evenings. So you would just not walk out here any time of day and go through the park. You know, I would envision that if I left from here and went to the park now, automatically our system would know that somebody's there. And we would have them pretty much on video and, you know, provide that type of level of security. Because you can't make this type of investment and just not have it staffed and just let anybody come through there at any time they want to go. The vehicle access is great, but it's going to be limited. You won't, you know, when the park closes, you won't be able to drive through and have that vehicle access.
Can I ask another question regarding that though? And you talking about future, are there facings and are there costs?
Yeah. I get that question for every master plan that we've worked on.
I understand.
And you've been up here doing some of these in the past with your projects. You know, phasing is an option. And in many cases, if you ask me my professional opinion, it's going to have to be phased. The economy isn't where all of us would like to see it right now. So phasing is going to have to be an option. We're going to have to go after some of that low-hanging fruit and try to develop this thing in phases. When you talk about funding, I mean, what are your funding options, realistically? Potentially, your big chunk of money always comes in municipal government from a bond referendum. So that's an option, hopefully, in the future. You've got two-thirds bond CIP projects that we have every other year. That's an option. There's some grant opportunities out there. There's not a lot like it used to be. There are some grant opportunities out there. Most of those grants, you have to have matching funds. But I think we're gonna have to look at all of that. We're gonna have to look at sponsorship. We're gonna have to look at a corporate donor. We're gonna have to look at making this the Jimmy Norwood,
You might get a tree.
whatever. You know, but, you know, what I envision, especially, you know, most of you have, this is our 4th master plan. And most of you I've seen at all of our master plan meetings. And, you know, I really believe that we are going to be able to go after somebody, a major donor. You know, naming rights. We're gonna have to be able to do that. You know, so that's an option. My job was to work with the community, gather input, and create the vision. I mean, that's my job. And I'm hopeful that before I retire, let me change that. Before I
Expire.
I don't say expire. I'm hoping that before I retire, that this will be a project that's underway. You know, will I be able to enjoy it? Not necessarily, but my children, hopefully my grandchildren, will be able to enjoy it, and your grandchildren. You know, if you sit looking here saying this park is for us right now, we're gonna have this done in 6 months. This is a vision for the future. You know, and this kickstarts us, it jumpstarts us into the future. You know, can you imagine what this would do to property values?
But that's the reason I asked about Lakeside though. I mean, because there's that interface
Yeah.
that you have to be realistic about. And how does that work? And then that was the question, what is the face when you start? Where do you start? So that it kind of gives impetus for the donor to come in. Because if you have Lakeside there, I won't buy that tree.
Well, Jimmy, I think to that point, that's a whole nother comprehensive part of Lakeside in and of itself.
Well, I understand, but that affects this. This is a Winston Lake Park, and that affects it, so you gotta think about that. in that
I would
sense.
like to say something in reference to that is, and we've seen this before, this can be a catalyst for turning things around as well. And what we've seen is when people invest in their own, when the city invests in their own, then other people are likely to invest in it as well. We see that all the time. No one's gonna invest in anything, no one's gonna take care of anything if the city's not gonna take care of or invest in their own piece of property. So I think this can be more than just a park. It can be an investment in the community that then will make people want to come and do something about certain areas that need improvement around. It will come, it will happen because people will want to be next to this and want to invest in it. You know, it's like all of a sudden, you know, you got beachfront property for some reason. You know, well, that beachfront property is worth something now because of that amenity. And that's the same thing we see this, that this could be a catalyst to something like that going forward. Yes, sir.
I just want to ask if I don't know about you, Tim, but I think I'm being around when it's finished. All the time, yeah. The question I had, are there any hard and fast numbers on what the actual total project will cost?
We've done, we've looked at some of the numbers. We haven't gotten to the level of detail where we know exactly what it will cost. This isn't going to be done with $5 million investment. It's going to take some funding to do everything. But one of the things that we've done with this site, as well as all of our sites, was that we designed pieces of the master plan so that they don't cost a whole lot of money. And in doing so, you slowly build upon it, keep the momentum going. People can see that we've done all these drawings, but it's hard to get people to see that you're for real and that you're serious about development. So if you create opportunities where it doesn't take a whole lot of money, a whole lot of time to begin that process, people see that you're serious, they see that you're serious about implementation. Throughout for the entire plan, with the water feature, is a pretty significant component. The lakefront, the utilities, and a lot of the infrastructure that needs to be upgraded to support what we're proposing, it's going to take a significant amount of money. Over the long term, to do it correctly, without cutting any corners, it could take several millions of dollars. anywhere up to 10, 15, even 20. It really depends on how it's phased and what you do first and second. We have to do it right. I think in order to, we went through all this trouble, we spent over 2 years developing this plan. We didn't do that to come in and cut corners and really look at how we develop this in a new way so that people can see that we're serious. For somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000, we can do disc golf. See, it doesn't take a whole lot of money to do that. Once people begin to get there, we can build on that and continue to grow the entire site.
One of the things we want to do is make sure whatever we do, whether it's a small piece, whether it's a larger component of this, we want to do it right. We want to build it right. We want to start it right, because that is going to set the tone for everything else moving forward, and that will be the catalyst to do other things moving forward. So it might be, to start, it might be, where's your pressure coming from the most? Is it to circulate around the lake and extend the greenway through? Is it to connect the vehicular way to get people in there and get them started to utilize the facility, get the pressure to do more things? That's what you see, and that's the evolution of Salem Lake. If you look at it, I mean, they put things in the ground. People started coming, and the more people started coming, the more things that they wanted. And so you have a master plan on which to base decisions, and that's an important thing at this point in time. You have a vision out there. You can post this vision out there on the site and do your greenway connection and get through the site somehow. And that will create that push to get other things done. You've seen it with the other greenways that you've done. You've built sections of the greenway and they've had to stop because of funding or because of certain issues and that kind of stuff. And the pressure to do more has come from the people and the citizens that are using that. And that's what will happen here too, in our opinion. So if you're going to do something, do it right. Bite off what you can bite off at the front end. Do it right. Get those people here, get them excited, and they will then help you help Tim and William get to the next level.
A lot of municipalities today can't, and this is across the country, we can't do it on our own anymore. It's really unrealistic for people to think that the city can, cut a check and then all this gets built. We have a very unique opportunity to work with Y, to work with the school system, really create an environment that everybody can benefit from. So it's going to take us having some dialogue with Y, us having some dialogue with the school system, and partner, very similar to what we do at Haynes Park currently with the school system. It's going to take all of us in order to make this happen, to make it a reality.
It's a community effort, so yeah.
Absolutely. The special event center that we were talking about would be a perfect example of that. I mean, that could come from private dollars. It could come from a private donor.
And we've already started some conversation with the First Tee. Put your money where your mouth at, First Tee. Y'all said you all go out some dollars. Here it is. We got a master plan finished. Want a copy of it? So there are opportunities out there. If the First Tee is not interested, then maybe that whole place up there gets put on the back burner, and you look at developing other particular areas. But I think those opportunities are out there. And for us, the exciting part is we've got a master plan. I'm almost close to getting this in front of council and getting it approved. When I get a master plan, when I talk to potential grant opportunities, or even if I go to, I ain't gonna say this guy. I was watching some on Goldman Sachs. I wish I could find all those people that made all that money at Goldman Sachs. But if I could take that master plan and go meet with the guy at Goldman Sachs and convince him in his vision, first thing he's gonna say is, "You have a master plan done." Oh yeah, baby, I got it done. Here it is. I want you to see it. I want you to touch it, kiss it, feel it, and hug it. That's what I want to do. And that's what is going to help us through this process, is to have this master plan done so that we can take this and do our little show in front of people and get them excited about funding.
You have something to sell. You have something to sell, whether that, like you're saying, whether that's to council, whether that's to a public-private venture, whether that's to a donor, whatever. You've got a vision to sell and components. There's a lot up here. It took me a half an hour for us to kind of go through everything, if not longer. There's a lot more meat in it than we even told you about, and we want you to come up and feel it and touch it and get into it. But the point is, there's something for everybody here, and if somebody has a real real passion for swimming, there's a pool and a splash park. Yeah, there we go. And if there's a passion for, you know, festivals and special events, it's like we got a festival park, you know, that could be constructed. A great, you know, shade structure events kind of piece, you know, you could have all kinds of events. There's revenue sources in here. I mean, there are revenue generating opportunities in here. And they can be significant. They can draw outside East Winston, they can draw outside Winston, they can draw outside the county if you want them to. And that's the one thing when we talked early on, we said, you know, this has got to become not only a park for the people around it, it's important for them to get their input, but it also needs to be a park that draws from outside and mixes people with different cultures and things in one location. I think there's some opportunities for that.
One of the, excuse me, I don't want to real quick. One of the things that you'll see throughout the entire plan, if you really look at the details, we're bringing people here. We created an opportunity for people to come here, families to come here. And we created, and in those intimate spaces, created opportunities for those families to interact with other families. That's how you build communities. That's how people begin to talk about and tweet and get on Facebook, get on Google Plus, and talk about what we have to offer here at Winston Lake. That's what those people are going to go back and they're going to tell their friends. Their friends are going to bring their families. That's how that is branded in your brain. It is what you see. It's not my plan. It's not Tim's plan. It's not Scott's plan. It's your plan. These are your ideas that we worked with and massaged to get to this point. So it's your plan, and it was all designed for you. It's a very, very long process, but it's very well detailed and documented why we can do what we're able to present to you today. And again, it's something that you can be able to take back and share with your family, and then generations and generations of people will be able to come out and enjoy.
And that was my next question. Will this information be available to the public, to the community that's not here today? Where can they see this, touch it, feel it, pick it up? Will it be online or have access to it?
Let me just kind of tell you where I am. Our hope is to move this forward, get it in front of our Recreation Parks Commission for their approval, for their input and approval, and move it to General Government Committee next month, and then move it in front of the full council for adoption. At that particular time, I mean, our plan is to get all of our master plans up on our website, so you can go there and peruse and look at those. I don't know if you'll be able to print them, because they're going to be rather large, but we'll make that information available that way. What I'd like to do, quite honestly, Wayne, because I know you're here with the board, is to get copies here at the Y so they can be on display. I'd love to do that.
I would like to just piggyback a little bit on what William was talking about families and stuff like that. We had, this past fall, we had a Community Roots Day out here, and I know, Mr. Montgomery, you were there, Wisconsin, you were there, a number of people probably there. That was a wonderful day. I mean, hundreds of people out on the, at the parking lot at the Twin City baseball fields that spent 4 hours planting trees along the Newell-Massey Greenland. There's no reason why they couldn't have special events doing something at this park, and just think about all the families. I mean, I can get goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's really neat, and, you know, it's just happens to be one of the things that we, at my office, have been a part of for, 15 years now or more. And I think we were some of the first ones, you know, when Roots Day started out, and I think there's been tens of thousands of trees planted, but more so, it brought those communities together, brought those people out there, rubbing elbows together, people that wouldn't normally necessarily be together. This could be just a wonderful part to that whole kind of concept of bringing communities together. Yes, Mr.
While you may not be able to download the master plan itself, certainly you can put an executive summary of, 5 pages or so that people could download and print and have hard copies of if they need to.
Yes, ma'am, and there will be some documentation that we develop after this, and as part of our final wrap-up of the project that will be available to Tim and William for distribution.
What would be an estimated start date if you could pick it? And how long do you foresee this taking, since you say you might be retired and whatnot?
And whatnot.
If I gotta pick a start date, I'm retiring now. I don't know. I mean, those are questions I cannot stand up here to answer. My job is to get the master plan finished, get it approved and adopted by city council. After that, the next, year, we'll start looking at, funding opportunities. And every year, we take our lead from city council. And during the budget process, I'm excited that council told me, what was it, 2 years ago? They picked these plans and said, work on them. So I cannot answer that. When are we gonna start? I would say that we will never stop, because we will continuously look for funding, we'll continuously look for corporate sponsorship, we will continue trying to get other people who have money interested in this. And then, who knows what the economy is gonna be like, the local economy, the state economy, the national economy, this time next year. Nobody knows. But for us, we've got a plan. If that's an easy way of weaseling out of answering your question, I'm sorry.
Really pleased with the disc golf course. I'm glad that's in there. You're going to wish that's at full 18 holes, I think, by the end of it. But at last, my experience with Winston Lake is a little limited. I've only been around it one time. There's really sediment, really murky water when I happened to go around at that time. Do we know what the source is, and is there a way to kind of control that sediment so it's a cleaner lake?
If I'm correct, the lake was dredged several years ago.
This would have been,
19,
I didn't know if that's,
1997? I'm thinking around 1997.
I guess the sediment is actually kind of from upstream is what I'm thinking about. Is it something from up, it looked like, it was a really muddy day that day, it's sort of like that. I didn't know if there's a way for a better retention pond to kind of filter out some of the upstream sediment or something like that.
There are ways to do that. Scott and I, we didn't ask him to look at that.
Okay.
I think that when we look at developing this, that we'll kind of look upstream and kind of see what we can do to make sure we get it clean as whenever possible. The lake really needs to be cleaned out again.
Right.
So there's some programmatic things that aren't shown on the plans, and we know we need to do this, and what needs to be done with the dam as well. But we'll look at those things. There are ways to treat and filter that work before it gets to this, to get a much better experience.
And to answer your question or make a comment about disc golf, this is not the only disc golf course we've included.
Excellent.
Salem Lake
Okay.
and the quarry. So we didn't want to stick disc golf only at one site. We wanted to utilize those other master plan opportunities to expand disc golf as well.
I work at a great outdoor provision company. We sell disc golf stuff. I don't do it that much, but people will drive all over the place just for a disc golf course. And
we will have an opportunity for great outdoor provisions to sponsor. Get your name and phone number, address, social security number, and everything else before you leave.
And not just the 9 holes, the whole 18, right?
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
To William's point, I think it's a Tim's challenge, so it's a suggestion, but it's also a challenge to those of us in the room, you all to consider some grassroots fundraising opportunities for a portion or one of the outdoor, one of the outdoor spaces that's the people's whatever, the people's shelter, the people's whatever. I wouldn't call it whatever you want to, but I think it's relative to investment and ownership, right, of the process, and also kind of continuing the idea of people really seeing this as an asset. So I think you have an opportunity. I'm not speaking for the people who are in the room, retreat or not retreat, I don't know. But I think there's an opportunity, right, for the community to do some grassroots fundraising, to do a shelter or a something that kind of, one, lifts up the energy and the greatness of this community. Because it is a really powerful community and lots of good things happen. But two, to get that shelter funded, right? And branded and named in that way. So.
Now, I would challenge anybody to find a park in this entire country that is not a beautiful and relevant site that the community has to take ownership of. That is very, very important, and that was one of the reasons why this is your plan. Whether the ideas that you see presented to you today, the community gave those to us, and so this is, again, it's not our plan, we want the community to take ownership in it. I think we've done a really good job at taking those ideas and making them flow and function, but you're exactly right. Once the community takes ownership of it, anything can happen.
And let me just make one point. Those of us who've been around here for a pretty good while, remember when the master plan process started for Triad Park? Remember that? Triad Park over the coal factory?
Oh, I know that part.
Now, when you drive, and Triad Park is a Forsyth County park, but when you go there now, that park looks totally different than what it did when the plan started. Because they were able to implement the plan as they got resources. But if you haven't been to Triad Park, go there. I went to Triad Park when they had just purchased some of the property. You go to Triad Park now, and I think they're in something like maybe phase 11 of their master plan. I think there are 13 phases maybe total. But it looks totally different. So when you look at a master plan, look at it with a vision for the future. I wish we could say, William, here's a $20 million check, go do it, let's get it done. But look at it in phases, because that's going to be the beauty of this. And there may be some things that will change. I like the fact of the festival park, where we have football and everything else, being a synthetic surface. Now, those of you know about that costs a little bit more than just natural turf. Why? Because then football can be there every day. Soccer could be there every day. A concert could be every weekend. And we wouldn't have to worry about maintenance issues. So it just depends. As we go through this master plan process and we look for whatever resources that are out there, and we begin to develop the plan, we can pick and choose as a community in terms of, yes, we want this. No, you know what, we can scale that down a little bit. We can back off of this. But eventually, we have a vision that all of us believe in. Councilman?
And just a comment, and it really is a past due vision, in the sense of looking at a city our size and our parks. And we have parks that are in the county have, but cities our size in the state and around the country have great signature parks, and we're lacking them. And I think these plans, both the Winston Lake Park plan, Salem Lake Park, those help us move in the direction of getting signature parks, which continue to enhance us overall as a city, because we're missing that. And this drives us down that road of being able to get where we should be.
And council member, somebody told me once that parks and recreation is a wonderful, parks and the recreational spaces that we have in our city is a great benchmark for the quality of life we have in our cities. And so you do have to look outside of Winston Salem or where you live and see what the possibilities are, see what other people are doing, see what they have. So if we want good quality people here that are that have the ability to enjoy these spaces and to draw people here, then we need to invest in our own communities in parks and recreation. So it's a true benchmark of quality of life.
I've been to, I'm sure a lot of people have been to other cities, seen things, and wish we had that. We, between Winston Lake, Salem Lake, Quarry, and Jameson Park, we've designed 4 totally unique sites where you can have very different experiences. We have the opportunity for people to come to Winston and we can't ever have that because they don't have the type of land formations and some of the jewels that we're trying to develop. They don't have this. They don't have a port. They don't have a Winston Lake. They don't have that history. They don't have a Salem Lake. We have some very, very unique facilities. We just need to promote and kind of reprogram them for the coming generations. And I think we've done a very, very good job of that.
Any other questions?
I have one. I wasn't aware that you were working on the quarry, and that you were working on 4 other projects or 3 other projects in addition to this one. Is it possible for the people to actually get information about what amenities that you're planning on putting at the other ones, you know, such as like the event center and things like that, so people on this side of town who may not be aware of what's going on the other side of town at those locations can see the master plan that the Parks and Recreation Center is working on?
There are 4 master plans that we were charged with. And let me just say, if you're smart, 3 of them are on this side of town. And 3 of them will be connected with a greenway. So you'll be able to leave here on a bike, or, and, you know, Jimmy, you still ride your bike?
Come on, Tim, don't call me.
I'm sorry, but you. Let me get Wayne. Wayne Hush.
My stationary.
Wayne Hush could get on his bike here and get to Quarry property and get to Winston Lake Park by using the greenway. And that will be a real selling point in connectivity. You know, I know Councilmember Bessie, he's a runner. I see him running a lot on weekends. But you could run, you could walk. You could leave here walking and walk all the way to Salem Lake. And walk all the way to the quarry. So those plans are out there. All of them will be on our website. The quarry and Jameson have already been approved by council. They'll be on our website. They are very unique. They're very unique. And when you look at it, what is it? This property is about 400 some acres. The quarry is about 200 acres. And then you've got Salem Lake is about 14 to 1,500 acres. So you're looking at 3 of the larger parcels that we have being developed in master plans. But yeah, they will be accessible, and you can go on the website and we'll make sure that we get them on there. And you can see those.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? I want to be respectful of your time. Marvin?
I'm just tickled because you've got a competitive pool. You know I am.
We listen.
If you tickled, I want you to say something.
I just want to make sure that that you heard and get it online, because you said we need funds. You know, I'm going to put it out there. You know. So.
Oh, I do have one more question. What's an estimate? I know you said all of the financials aren't exactly there, but what would an estimate be of like a shelter? So that, like Falami said, if we wanted to try and get people together to gather funds, they have a benchmark of how much they could possibly raise for that.
Let me make a couple comments and turn over to William.
Okay.
We don't need a shelter donation yet. Okay, as William mentioned earlier, there's a lot of, in this piece of property, there's a lot of infrastructure needs. There's a lot of needs that most people don't see that need to be underground. Okay, so that's one of the early things that, you know, as we look at developing this property, we have to do electrical, water systems, sewer, all of that needs to be put in place. Then when you get to a point, it's just like buying a car. You can decide what type of shelter you want. Whether you want, I call it, my granddad would say, the Cadillac shelter or the Chevrolet shelter. So you can kind of pick and choose those things through this process. I don't know if you want to add anything to that?
There may be opportunities for us to, for lack of a better term, provide a shelter. One of the things that when we have an opportunity to come up and look at the signage piece, architecturally, things at Winston Lake, we want them to be unique. We want to build in that rich history, so we don't want to just go get a shelter out of the catalog and say, let's put this at this location. What we can do, if we'll have some discussion with Tim and some other people, what's probably possible is that we provide a shell. If you wanted to raise some funds to help, maybe add a stone base at the columns to kind of add that uniqueness to it, or add a metal roof, to maybe bring back some of that architectural history back to Winston Lake. There may be some opportunities to where you don't have to buy shelter yourselves. Shelters, your typical picnic shelter can run you anywhere between $40,000 and $50,000. To do that type of architectural upgrade, it might take $4,000 or $5,000 of additional money that, you know, where if the community wants to raise that to kind of make those facilities unique, the opportunity may be there for that.
And the reason why I asked for that was just because if anyone's ever like done donations like abroad or something like that, and they'll be like, with your money, you just purchased a cow. You just purchased, so that people will know their money reached a certain goal instead of just saying, I gave $500, but I don't know where it went. You know, that's the reason why I asked that question in that manner. And maybe that might be a way that you want to consider doing your goal, you know, listing how your goals are being met. Just saying, okay, you might have helped us reach such and such. Now we're at a such and such point in the project because of what we've reached.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have some juice. I know we might be cutting some people's during time. We have some juice. We have some cookies. We'll be here as long as we need to be. Feel free to come up, get a closer look at your master plan. Thank you for coming out. Oh, and make sure, I know some people probably came in after the presentation started. Please make sure that you sign put your name on the sign-in sheet so we can keep a record of who's everyone that's here, and also have an opportunity to keep you updated for any future development plans. Again, thank you very much.